All right. I think a lot of people have joined in. Let's get started. Thanks everyone for joining in. Hope you're all doing great during these tough times. We have a really interesting session planned for today. We have the leadership team from Dr. Vaidya's with us. Welcome Trisha and Arjun again.
Hi guys.
Thanks, Manshu.
Thanks so
live
much.
from our office right now, actually.
Sorry?
Reporting live from our office.
Yeah, that's really interesting to see. So, so thanks so much for taking some time out and sharing your learnings with the greater e-commerce community.
Sure.
We'll have the e-commerce players here with us. Just to set some context, we'll divide the entire discussion into 5 sections. We'll start with the context. We'll start by understanding the supply side, move on to the warehousing, then the logistics, and then how the future is going to look like. Right? You guys can ask your questions in the Q&A box. We'll try to accommodate as much as possible. I would now want to introduce our panelists here. So Trisha is currently the CEO of Dr. Vaidya's. She's ex-Goldman Sachs, ex-Nykaa. She's been able to scale up Dr. Vaidya's operations really fast, running an extremely efficient supply chain. And we have with us Arjun. Arjun is the CEO of Dr. Vaidya's. He's Forbes 30 under 30 Asia, Business World 40 under 40, one of the big names in the online health and wellness category in India. So yeah, really happy to see both of you. To get started, Arjun, can I request you to just give us some background of Dr. Vaidya's, what you guys do?
Sure. So I'll start with maybe a history of the company and then talk about what we're doing. So Vaidya, my last name means Ayurvedic doctor. We come from a legacy of 150 years of Ayurveda in the family. My grandfather, great-grandfather, and sort of generations before were all Ayurvedic doctors. The legacy of our business is it wasn't a business. My dada ran a very successful clinic in Bombay, which he inherited from his father. So it was a very successful clinic practice. 300 to 350 patients a day coming to this clinic. Family formulations passed down from generation to generation. So as a company, we own 100 plus Ayurvedic proprietary formulations that have been passed down in my family for the last 150 years. I grew up personally with Ayurveda. I am cured of juvenile bronchitis, asthma, using Ayurvedic treatment from my grandfather, sort of painstaking Ayurvedic treatment for more than 14 years. I recovered when I was age 14 completely. And so I grew up a believer in the science. I went to the US for my undergrad when I was 17 and a half to a place called Brown. So I moved towards natural and organic products. So yoga being completely repackaged. And that got me thinking, if they have done this with yoga, why can't we do this with Ayurveda? I moved back to India in 2013. Started working in a private equity fund called L Capital Asia, focused on the Indian consumer sector. So spent time on the Indian consumer. Unfortunately, my dada passed 3 months into me moving back to India. But 2014, 2015, 2016, defining years for Ayurveda, sort of change in government, creation of Ministry of Ayush, consumer interest, Patanjali revolution. So all of these things sort of made me think that this is our family legacy. I can't let it die. And so October 2016, sort of mid 2016, I quit my job. October 2016, started the company, named it after my grandfather. So Dr. Vaidya was my grandfather's name. So named the company after my grandfather. And the company is called Dr. Vaidya's New Age Ayurveda. So our mission and goal with the brand is to take 150 years of family legacy and 5,000 years of science and repackage it to make it appealing and accessible to modern consumers. So that's the premise behind Dr. Vaidya's. Considering that we are sort of a new age brand, we've used the power of online, the power of digital to engage with consumers. So today, sort of over the last 3 years, we've built drvaidyas.com as India's largest single branded Ayurvedic store. Pre-COVID, we were doing 3,500 orders a day. Post-COVID, we are down to about 22 to 2,500 orders a day, but that will scale up because of sort of Ayurvedic products and the need and excitement towards Ayurvedic products. But I think we've gone about our business using the power of digital to take the message of Ayurveda forward to as many consumers as possible and leverage the power of digital to create an Ayurvedic message for consumers. And that's sort of been the journey over the last 3 years, from 0 to 3,500 orders a day. But in the process, launched 54 products and engaged with more than 1 million consumers.
Got it. Thanks for the introduction. Probably, Trisha, you can talk a little bit about, give an overview of the supply chain of Dr. Vaidya's, right? From procurement to warehousing, so that the subsequent discussion becomes a little more contextual.
Sure. So we have a factory that's based out of Silvassa, that's on the outskirts of Bombay, bordering between Bombay and Gujarat. We supply or we source all our raw materials from all over India, depending on the herbs, quality of weather, etc. Many criteria. The herbs are sourced. Our supply chain is quite straightforward, hence because of that. Factory manages production. Factory to AO is where the goods come, and all dispatches for B2C happen from our warehouse in Bombay itself. All dispatches for like larger players like Amazon, 1mg, NetMeds, etc. actually happen directly from the factory. But supply chain wise, I think it's quite simple for us in terms of we don't have multiple warehouses. We only have one currently. So it's quite a simple process. We keep, 1 month stock in our warehouse here, 2 months stock in factory. With the whole thing of digital, you have to keep updating your products, keep analyzing what sells, what doesn't, what raw materials do you get. The team actually, Arjun, works on this a lot more, focuses a lot on making sure that the correct raw materials are bought in the correct months, because you have a lot of fluctuations in terms of price, quality. So maintaining that is actually a very cumbersome process. But I mean, Arjun, the factory team managed that.
Okay. So, Trisha, just to clarify, you guys are only selling your own products, right? No third-party products available on it.
We sell Dr. Vaidya's branded products. So we have a range of 54 products. We only sell Dr. Vaidya's products.
Okay, got it. Okay, now that we have some context, let's move on to the first part, which is the managing supply and product portfolio, right? So this question is to Arjun. Arjun, I'm sure that you would have diversified your product categories during this time, right? So how do you go about making such decisions, right? Is there a scientific way of selecting these categories, probably looking at customer preference or something?
Yeah, so I think, Pranshu, I'll talk about the start of the company first, because that will give some context to how we've gone about this journey, right? So we started with 2 products. One is called HerboFit, which is Chyawanprash in a capsule, immunity energy booster, extremely relevant today. And the other is called Live It Up, a hangover product. So 1 year of Dr. Vaidya's, we ran with only 2 products in the portfolio. 1 year into the company, we realized, look, these products are doing well, but building an online only brand, we may need a larger offering of products. And so 1 year in, we launched on the 27 SKUs. Now, 27 SKUs at one time may seem like a mammoth task. The interesting or differentiating factor for us as a company, which makes life much easier for us, is we own 100+ proprietary formulations. And so it's just about going back into the repository of information we have and deciding what makes sense to launch, right? So we're not really going about developing completely new to the world concepts. We may be using our existing information and developing new formats, new type of sort of new representations or new interpretations of existing formulations. So that's an advantage we have as a brand. When it comes to diversification of portfolio, I wouldn't say there's a science as such. There is some amount of market analysis, some amount of consumer feedback, some amount of talking to consumers, which Trisha and I do a lot, right? So this company started with 4 people. Today there are 110 people in the company. But customer service was done by us for a very long time. So answering the customer calls, doing the WhatsApps, answering the queries, replying to the emails, all of it was done by us. And so sort of being close to the consumer is really important as well. So there is the market analysis, consumer feedback. And so, I mean, today it's very clear that immunity and hygiene are going to be extremely big categories. And so we are doing and will be doing more things in those categories. But in general, I think it's a mix of science and gut, right? So you may use a lot of the market analysis and consumer feedback to launch, but at the end of the day, it's like venture capital, right? You take a punt or you take a call on a product, you'll have 1 out of 7 products doing exceptionally well, 2 or 3 of them doing reasonably well, and then 2 or 3 of those ideas not doing as well as you expected. But I think the positive part about an online play is you can do a small pilot with a limited cost and very quickly have some sense of what the product will do over a sort of 1 to 3 months play. And because we are fortunate to have our own website, which is our own platform, which doesn't take as much work to launch, we're easily sort of able to do these pilots and run these tests on products and then decide how these things can scale.
Got it. So this agility to keep experiment is probably something that works out in your favor since you have your own platform. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So in terms of this thing, Trisha, and this is my question to you. How do you go about getting suppliers for any new category, any new formulation, especially around these times, right?
I'm going to give a question to Arjun if you don't mind, because he actually manages part of the business.
So yeah,
Sure.
I think Pranshu, this time specifically is very challenging because although as an Ayurveda brand you want to do so many things, and I keep getting messages saying, "Hey, dude, you're so lucky. You're Ayurveda. You're allowed to stay open. You're essential." So I think for people who aren't open, they think that you're open and now things are hunky-dory and easy, right? So there is a big challenge in getting supply. Now, from a herbs perspective or raw materials perspective, this supply chain is in place and we can't change the supply chain, right? Because we have trust in these vendors. We've been working with them for a while. So we're not going to change these vendors. So herbs is one part of the game. The other part of the game is sort of packaging, both primary and secondary and tertiary packaging, right? So is the vendor open? If the vendor is open, how long will they take to service you? If they are servicing you, how long will it take in logistics? If it's stuck in logistics, what do you have to do in logistics to get it moved? How many permissions you have to apply for, etc. All of that. So it is extremely challenging. But I think the one sort of thing that's worked for us is keep speaking to your vendors, because things change dynamically every day, right? In this situation. So what you may have thought would be possible last week may not be possible this week. And so you have to usually you have a plan A and a plan B, right? Your sort of primary vendor and secondary vendor. Here we have gone up to plan D and E and F as well, right? So keep everything as options available. Local sourcing, right? Right now, movement of goods for raw material and packaging, for raw materials, one, leave it aside, but for packaging material, it's better to have vendors closer by. So what may have seemed like just a transport cost, which was not that important, and keep a vendor that's sort of slightly further because you're used to working with them, is now having to be changed, right?
Yep.
So you're thinking as a smaller company, like a bigger company. So big MNCs will have different raw material packaging vendors for different factories. As a smaller company, you're like, ठीक है यार, थोड़ा दिल्ली में है, factory सिलवासा में है, तो चल जाएगा. But now चलता नहीं है. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind. But agility is most important, right? If it did not work, what's the next answer or next option? And the option of saying this is not possible is not there with us, right? As a startup, we're like, no, it has to happen. So we have launched 2 products amidst lockdown, right? And so we are saying that launch karna hoga, not because we want to make money, but because people need these products, right? Booster, sanitizer, short in supply, people require, we have to launch it. So then in these kind of situations, what can you do? So one example is our label vendor, for example, is present in Bombay. He was not able to deliver the goods to Silvassa. So he said, I will deliver in Mumbai anywhere to you, right? He said, I can deliver in the evening. So we said, okay, you can come to our home and deliver the product. And then the next day we'll go to office, and when our tempo is coming from Silvassa with our goods, we'll put it back in that tempo and we'll go back in that tempo. But he said, look, your area, I'm not comfortable. I've never come to your building. I've never come to your home, etc. So I want to know about your area. So we told him about the area, and he said, there's a chemist shop close to your home. I will drop the labels to the chemist shop because I know that person. You have to pick up the labels from there and then give it to me. And then so these kind of things, right? Basically, that sort of constant jugaad you have to keep doing to get things done in this circumstance.
So Arjun, since you've launched these 2 products during these times, any specific learnings that you want to share with people on how to quickly go about launching a product?
Yeah, I think for us, it's very clear why we are launching the product. So I think the first thing is what's the thought process behind it? Like for us, immunity and hygiene are very big categories. So we have a bunch of other products in pipeline which are not as relevant and so may not be as important to launch in this time. So I think that was sort of one important thing that we wanted to do in this time is get the products out. I think first is like, it's going to be challenging to launch the product in this time, right? So have your premise as to why you want to launch the product very clearly set. And then from there, decide what it takes to launch that product. Like have it very clear in your mind that I need to do XYZ things to launch the product. These are the XYZ hurdles I will face, and then set up the plan B, C, D, E, and F for that, right? Because one is, yes, premise is there. I want to launch it. Product market fit, I believe, is there. Then what are the other things I need to do to launch this product is very important. And having that in place, because you can say, yes, I want to launch the product, great. But once I want to launch the product, what are the other things and challenges I will face in launching the product in this circumstance? Look, in a normal circumstance, we all know how to launch products.
Yep.
But in this circumstance, what are the issues, hindrances, challenges, and obstacles I will face, and what will I do to sort of come over these obstacles? Very important.
I mean, just to add to that, there have been cases like when we've had to launch these 2 products where we've actually had to go to the collector's office to get permission for them to open their factories.
Or bottle vendors, for example.
You know, so you have to be able to really wanting to go. So we've had someone from our office go 5, 6, 7 times. You know, you wait, you get an answer, but I mean, you really have to have, I think, also a very dedicated team who's willing to do that. And you know, you get the right permissions, do it correctly. I think that's also very important. You know, like making sure everything is in place when you launch all of these new products.
Yep, that's interesting. Okay, I think from the supply side, let's try to pivot towards warehousing now.
Sure.
So, Trisha, this is probably for you.
Yeah.
So, we've heard about masks and sanitizers being used in warehouses, but from a detailed process design perspective, right? So, what are the new things that we need to do in warehouses, and what are the processes that will stay for a long term, right? Maybe for
I think one biggest change that's going to happen is also when it comes to taking in returns, right? Because returns are the places that go all over the country. They've touched multiple places, multiple surfaces, multiple touch points. So even currently, honestly, when we deal with returns, we have certain policies that we replace our gloves every, few, like half an hour, 45 minutes, our gloves are being replaced. We're sanitizing that area. We're sanitizing the products that are coming back with the returns. We're only having like one room specific to that, which is then being cleaned multiple times. Everyone is not allowed to remove returns. The mask that is used during returns also we don't keep. We throw that away. The bags that come in returns, those have to be disposed of in a correct manner. Areas have to be very clear. If a trolley is being used that used returns, that's only used for returns, and that has to be sanitized each time it goes up or down the lift. So I think every process, like every step, be it paranoia, you can also call it. Maybe we are, but I think it's better to be paranoid in such a situation than take it for granted. Every step has to be done probably 10 more times. Personally, if you ask me, I'm going to continue this. Arjun and I were actually just talking about it a few days ago. Currently, we're only 5 people coming to office. So, we have 5 offices and 5 people. But even when things start, we've decided to keep one of our offices, change the whole thing and keep it only for returns to avoid any, issues, etc. Even from the lift coming up to down, that whole thing has to be sanitized again. The grills it goes through. So it's not as simple as it seems to just be operational right now. I think it takes like 3 times more the time than when it was pre-COVID. I think I personally am of the opinion not to wear wearable, reusable gloves, etc. for returns. I think it's better to use disposable and get rid of it. If it cuts in the middle, go ahead. The team keeps going and washing. I mean, I've done it myself for the last, 2 weeks, the whole returns process. So, the way you have to wash your hands every half an hour, the way you have to clean the products, the drums you have to use have to be separate. So I think that's a huge, huge issue. I think in terms of actual orders going through, again, I think the transport from factory to HO very critical. Again, we use one set of, one transport that we trust, who we know take best practices, because this is an outsourced service, right? So it's not in my control at the end of the day, but I have to make sure that I do as much due diligence as possible to make sure that they are following the correct sanitation and protocols in place. So we've been using one driver, one tempo throughout the process, and I think for the foreseeable future, we will be doing that. When the goods come, even that is all handled with gloves, masks, sanitization, keeping it sanitized. In terms of ops, we had an office that could seat about 25 people. I'm going to make sure only 10 to 12 people sit in that office, even once things start, because I think keeping that distance is important. Everyone has an individual sanitizer bottle, but to be honest, I think washing hands is much more important than just using the sanitizer. And we have the luxury and a facility to do it. So I think we need to be doing that to be as clean as possible. I think making sure that here I feel like washing masks, using proper high quality masks, not the blue cotton ones that you get. I don't think that suffices here. Making sure, like right now, another issue that we have to make sure is people who are coming, and that's why it's Arjun, me, and 2, 3 other people who live very nearby. Once things open, it's from a management point of view, you have to be very careful of how is the person coming, where do they live, are they in the area that's hot zone. If someone's in the hot zone, stop. Like literally we had 9 people coming, out of which 4 became orange zones. We stopped them from coming, right? Because you can't take a chance. It's also very unfair, I think, to do that. So I think all these things are going to be there, like temperature gun, of course, when you enter, making sure that that is checked. So I think everyone, like making a list of the nearby hospitals just in case something happens, making sure you have a contamination zone in case something goes wrong, because you don't know is the truth. Having certain rules in place that if someone is ordering, if someone is ordering food from outside, what is the protocol that the company has to follow. So I think that's a lot of things, it's not just your day-to-day business, but taking care of your people also, right? Everyone has different requirements, different things at home. Obviously people above a certain age should not even be coming to office. So I think every step is just going to be like 3 times more cumbersome than it was earlier, but I still believe it's better to do that.
So Trisha, are there any, completely new tech innovations that you see happening in the market in warehousing specifically?
Yes, so actually a friend of mine is working on this. So there are a few things. It depends on the size of your facility. So I think Wellspun, for example, is a company who's done this already. And I mean, even if you YouTube it, you'll be able to see the video that they've actually launched of even when the raw material truck comes into their house, into their factory gates, they have a whole sanitizer shower system, that they've put to even sanitize the truck that enters their facility. Now, that's a much larger company where they own a huge facility and acres of land. So I think the backpack sanitizer to constantly, clean the surfaces, etc., is definitely something that's a very important. I think not holding the sanitizer bottle, but having those touch sensors, very important. I think wherever possible, keep doors open and don't have the handle up and down system. I think, yeah, there are those few things that we've seen, and like the backpack spray, etc., things we itself have adopted. So that's the few that I can talk about. And I think every company is going to go through a phase of adding people phase wise and not all at once, to make sure that you can be equipped with all of this. I think deep cleaning is something that actually we started even before lockdown came into play, when there were cases in like mid Jan to Feb actually is when we started doing a deep clean every week as well, just to be extra precautious, extra particular. We started doing deep cleaning in all our offices once a week. Earlier it was done once a month, we started doing it once a week. So I think all these changes will happen, and I think each company will just have to see what is physically possible and how much can you actually do. And I think that's why launching any company is going to be in a phase wise, so that you can prepare yourself.
Okay, got it. Thanks both for this session. I think we can move on to the next section, which is around managing the post-dispatch operations, right? So this is more of logistics side. So there is this one peculiar issue that we saw in many e-commerce companies, right? So the courier partner serviceability kept on changing frequently. So just for the audience, serviceability is basically the list of pin codes where the courier company is operational, right? Now, what was happening is, say today, a courier company said that I am delivering goods to Jan, right? You allow your customer to place the order. You get the order, and one day later, the courier company says that now we are not operating there because of some governmental regulations or anything else. So this basically because of this lack of serviceability list, there is a situation that a lot of dynamic changing happens in the market, right? So any thoughts around this? How do you handle these kind of situations? Because they are going to come in future as well, as red zones keep on turning to orange, orange keep on turning to red. So how do you ensure that this serviceability issue is solved? Any thoughts?
Okay, so I think there's no 100% right answer that we have. I can just kind of walk you through the issues we faced and what we've tried to mitigate it. So for example, the courier partner may have a list of pin codes, but that's actually not the problem, right? The one thing that the courier partners have been doing is have been giving you updated pin codes every 1 to 2 days. And actually now they've started a very good system of when they screen the order, when they come for pickup itself, they know if it's in a service, it's in a red zone or not. So they don't even take that order. But even after that, once it's dispatched, from the time it's left your warehouse till it's delivered to a customer, things change. So maybe a particular building has gone into a sudden lockdown, right? Or it's gone into a sudden red zone. You truthfully can't do much about that. I'll give you an example. When we started with, when we decided to begin operations, when certain courier partners had started operation, we started with only servicing the pin codes that they could. After a few days, I mean, and honestly, you have to have a very good relationship with the courier partners or the aggregators to keep picking up the phone and asking them what's happening, because they know it from a macro scale a lot more. They gave us some feedback saying that stop all orders to UP because way too many sectors within Uttar Pradesh itself are being zoned off and quarantined, so avoid UP. So we stopped operations to UP. You stop advertisements to UP. Currently also platforms like Google and Facebook, you can advertise on a pin code level, right? A platform like TikTok has to be done on a city level. So we actually monitor that as well, and and basically we keep checking what is the percentage that's not servicing, what is the cancellation, what is the returns. To be very honest, the chances of high returns is there during this phase till things all become in green zone. I do believe that this is going to be the case. It's also a manpower issue that all courier partners are facing. One thing we've done is to maintain that our ad spends are being budgeted and we're getting a decent amount of ROI to compensate for that. So I think each company will have to come to their own threshold basis. What is the percentage they are okay to reach at and what is it they're not.
Okay, got it. My next question is for Arjun. Arjun, so what kind of customer queries are you getting these days? And I'm assuming that maintaining a customer care operations might be a big challenge, right? So how are you ensuring those issues?
Actually, the question is not for me.
Sorry.
You're handling.
Yeah, sorry. This one's for me. So we do get a lot of queries. Some of the queries have been the same pre and post lockdown. A lot of queries come in terms of was it manufactured during post-COVID? Is it safe to have? Is our courier partner safe to take?
What are safety precautions you are taking as a brand?
What
as
are
well?
safety precautions that you are taking?
Customers ask this to you directly?
Very much. Some people have opted more for prepaid orders to avoid the whole cash on delivery and the cash exchange business. So you get all these queries. How are we maintaining it? Honestly, it's difficult. We have a very strong team who are diligently working. You constantly do have issues of laptop charger not working, phone out of balance, this, that. So honestly, we go a bit crazy managing it, but we're trying to do our best to answer customers as much as possible. We also have added on more people for calling, answering queries, replying to customers. We do have a COVID section. We've started adding more details in our emailers going out to customers, explaining to them the processes taken, SMSs going out. So constant communication so the customer also understands what's happening. But yeah, I mean, our volume is not as much as it used to be, I would say, pre-lockdown. Obviously, before we dispatch any order, also we ourselves, our team calls the customers to make sure that, okay, are you accepting the order? Is your area is it quarantined? Is it not? So we also have that's been added on.
Okay, got it. In terms of logistics, right? So do you feel that logistics companies in India have adapted really well to this whole process of following safety norms and putting in that confidence in the mind of customers? Any thoughts around that?
So I would hope so. I haven't seen the whole process to be able to comment so openly on it. But yes, I think when the courier guys, I can only tell you about my interactions with them. And I mean, my conversations which I've had, I feel quite assured that they have taken, the current practices. They all are wearing masks. They are all wearing gloves, they are maintaining, like earlier, maybe 8 to 10 guys were coming to pack goods, but now it's very few. Scanners are being, it's much more limited in terms of the number of people coming. I think they do have a very big responsibility, and I feel like the companies we've worked with so far, they've not shown me any sign to feel that they aren't taking the correct measures.
Okay. 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 I think we're almost midway into the session. We can actually start a poll. We've done a poll here. Uh, I'll just see how it works. Okay, I think it's launched. So the question is for all the participants. I think you're able to see a question on your screen.
Yeah.
The question is, in the online health and wellness category, right? What is the increase in sales that you expect after things get back to normal? The options are 5 to 10%, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, or more than 20. And then we'll have the experts answer the question, what they feel. We'll just wait for 10 more seconds for people to vote. Okay, I'll end the poll now.
Let's see the results.
Yeah, excited to see what people think.
So the outcome is, so the options are pretty close. 39% people think that it will be over 20%. This is the biggest majority.
Oh.
Okay.
And then we have 26% people thinking somewhere between 10 to 15% and 15 to 20%. Same number in both of them.
So nobody thinks the one that I was going to say, which is 5 to 10%. I think the answer is a very difficult one because only, with the way things are going, right, and things being sort of extremely dynamic, it's impossible to say how long this will continue. And the sort of key aspect for me is, right, health and wellness is a big category. What's happened now is immunity and hygiene, which were considered luxury categories in India, have become essential. So the entire mindset of consumers between essential and non-essential is changing. What we will see, and the real sort of thought in my mind, which is unclear right now, which is why I can't take a specific call on which one I would feel is the right one, is depending on how long this continues and depending on how long we are in this sort of lockdown / quasi-lockdown, which will be a while, right? The world cannot open after May 18th completely the way it was prior to lockdown. And so depending on that, you will see a momentary or a short to medium term contraction in consumption. Mm-hmm. Now that contraction in consumption will have different effects on different industries. And so different industries will see a different level of reduction in size. Health and wellness will probably see a lesser reduction in size. But that overall contraction in consumption is what I am unsure about right now. So to be sure that health and wellness will be in the top of consumers' mind in terms of spending, that's pretty clear, right? Now, what in health and wellness will be at the top of consumers' minds, that is clear-ish, which is we will spend on personal health, immunity, hygiene, cold, cough, those kind of things. And so discretionary health products may face certain issues for a certain amount of time. But what I am seeing is a lot of spend will move from us to me and my family, right? So I will start caring about what I need, what my family needs, as opposed to sort of what I want to do in general, where I want to go for my next trip, where I want to travel, etc. For some point of time, people will start caring for their own needs. And so that could determine. But yes, health and wellness will definitely see more importance. Health and wellness will definitely see more consumption for certain categories. But the number is very difficult to assert.
Okay. Got it. Arjun, one more question here, slightly unrelated. But what changes have you observed in your unit economics ever since you started? And how long would it be sustainable?
Yeah, so I think Trisha sort of discuss that piece, right? So because there are lesser brands being able to spend, because lesser brands are operational today, the cost of acquisition online is cheaper. Having said that, we are still in the first phase of understanding how many orders are even serviceable at this point. So my sense is the unit economics will be largely the same right now. What may be possible is once the world opens and once orders are being serviceable in the manner they were prior to lockdown and COVID, you may see some amount of improvement in unit economics for certain types of products. So maybe immunity will do better now than was earlier. Maybe hygiene will be doing better. Maybe sexual wellness will not do as well. Maybe weight gain will do better. So you will see unit economics improvements maybe at scale in the future for the health and wellness category for certain product types.
Okay, got it. Trisha, so the final question in our post-dispatch section for you. So any tech-related innovations that you would recommend people to do in the e-commerce space right now in the post-dispatch journey, which might help them in, according to you?
ClickPost.
ClickPost.
Apart from that, yeah. So, audience, we're not paying them for this.
So I'll tell you my view, right? The for the short term at least, right? There will be a lack of manpower availability, right? And so a lot of things which we are accustomed to doing with people in India, and we are accustomed to sort of having a lot of people work on things. You may have to introduce tech. The other more important part is communication to consumer as well is really important, right? And so post dispatch, there is the opportunity to involve tech in that part as well. Where is my order? How is my order reached? How do you place your next order? What do you do? What about a delay in the order? If the order is not going to reach because of red zone, orange zone, green zone, how do you communicate to the customer? I think tech involvement through that piece is also sort of significantly usable at this time.
Okay, I think this ends our third section. We'll move on to our final section now, which is talking about what the future is going to look like, right? So, Arjun, first question to you: what would be the new normal, and how would the e-commerce come out of it? A common question that everyone is asking these days, but yeah,
So I think this question is asked too much, and to be honest, I get a webinar in my email every single day talking about what is the new normal, world after COVID, future after COVID. I am not an expert. I don't think the people who are saying they're experts are actually having a direct detailed view. I don't even know if I can open my office on Monday or not, right? Or with more people. So right now, can we add more people to my office on Monday? I don't have an answer. So then how do I have an answer on this question? I think a few things we need to keep in mind though, right? One is consumption is going to change, right? Consumer behavior is going to change. Now, what I know very clearly is that my mother, who did not know how to use Paytm or Google Pay today, is being forced to Paytm for milk and eggs and Google Pay for vegetables coming to our society, right? So that's one change which I'm seeing on a anecdotal basis, which must be happening across households across the country, right? And so that's a message in general or a positive for e-commerce space, right? Because we're saying that a large section of consumers that were used to not shopping or not using digital are now using digital. And so I can say that that could be a new normal, where these consumers will say, yeah, I will be able to sort of use this. The other thing is maybe, right? I don't know the answer. Maybe for some time, consumers may shop online more because they don't want to go and physically interact with products. Although that is very difficult to say right now because the entire offline retail industry, at least in the food and grocery space, is taking a lot of necessary precautions to make consumers feel safe as well. So we don't know the answer to that. But I think really the consumer mindset towards using digital for consumers who decided, I will not use digital because I don't know how, that leapfrog has happened because of this time period, right? And the other thing is, I think content consumption has increased significantly, right? So I was seeing numbers on Netflix and Amazon Prime and Xperia. And each of these platforms have shown a 40 to 60% increase in traffic and consumption. And so really, if consumers are consuming so much content right now, sensitized and relevant communication from brands is also very important in this time, right? So be sensitive of what your consumers are going through, but also if they are consuming content, be there to give them that content, right? So for example, take this, right? This is relevant content that ClickPost is sort of doing for your relevant TG. Similarly, on Dr. Vaidya's Instagram, every single day, we have a property called Heal at Home, where we get a different health, fitness, or wellness expert to come on the platform and talk to our consumers about something. Meditation, fitness, yoga, Ayurveda, food and Ayurveda, fitness at home, these kind of things. So communicate more because content consumption is happening more. And what you do right now can build some brand stickiness in the future.
Yep. Yeah, completely agree. It's probably one of the best times to have developed that sort of relationship with your customers. Everyone is there and waiting to get to your content. Okay. My next question is for Trisha. So Trisha, what are you typically hearing from customers in terms of your customer care tickets or from your Facebook page? So what are their expectations as the lockdown starts to open up? And is there any change that you are seeing from there?
To be honest, some customers have been very patient and understanding that, you can't have delivery timelines like you did before lockdown, right? Like, so Bombay to Delhi, which would normally be delivered within 1 to 2 days, is now taking 3 to 7 days at times, right? Because it's now all by road, or it's only surface transport, right? There's no air transport that started as yet. So while some customers are being very understanding, some are not understanding it. And I also sympathize with them at some point because it's medicine that they're asking for, right? So it is a critical need. So I do feel that, that's a lot of queries that come in. I think people will move towards, I'm hoping as well, move more towards digital payments rather than, cash on delivery options, which is mainly most of e-commerce in India. I think they will move more towards digital payments as well. I think customers are definitely, which I think is very good, questioning and making sure that all precautionary steps are being taken. So they ask a lot more questions, even through email, Facebook, any channel. They are asking a lot more questions, which I actually take as a positive because people that makes me feel that people are being more aware and more cautious. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the only thing that we've seen change so far. And I think we're just gonna have to keep hand-holding customers a little bit more in terms of delivery timelines and managing the expectations. Because it's actually very tough. It's very tough for me also to say that this is when your delivery will come. Earlier, I could predict it. I could tell you exactly, depending on your PIN code, when you'll get your delivery. Right now, I don't have that. That's even a player like Amazon, right? Like if you place an order, they've put a 2-3 week delivery timeline because even they can't process. This again, not even in their control. It also depends on borders, state governments, and officials as well, right? So I think that's the only change, and hopefully more digital payments will be the way.
I think Pranshu, one more thing which he said is very important for us. We are essentials, right? So it's medicine, right? So we're seeing something which we've never ever seen before, and unprecedented, right? So we have people coming to our office building and waiting outside the gate and calling us up saying, "I'm waiting downstairs. I need my medicine," which is like for an e-commerce brand, it's crazy. I mean, these are obviously people who come from very close by, so they can actually come through the lockdown to us. But it shows that people really need their medicine, and so as brands need to be there to reassure them. And I shared one story on my LinkedIn today, very interesting one. So we had one person come yesterday and take some medicine, and this person said he had come from Ghatkopar, and our office and warehouse is in Tardeo, so more than 15 kilometers away, right? And the customer wasn't registered with us. So we were wondering why someone came 15 kilometers away and not registered with us. So very interesting. He said, I am not a Dr. Vaidya's customer. I am the family doctor of XYZ. That person really needs your medicine and it has run out. That person is not able to come all the way here because it's so far away and there is a lockdown. So XYZ person has sent me to come to collect the medicine because I'm a doctor. So one is obviously that people really need it and we need to be there to reassure. But two, just imagine the doctor who has driven 15 kilometers to lockdown for a patient of his to get this medicine. Outstanding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
Yeah. So, Arjun, we have a question from one of the participants. So, Amazon has switched off their cash on delivery. Did you consider doing it? And has your COD percentage changed? Has COD related RTO increased?
Yeah, so I think Amazon is a platform which can take decisions like this. Us as a platform, so we have not taken that decision. Two reasons why we've not. One is we're not a platform with the negotiating power of Amazon. And number two, actually, we have, and I was watching a webinar yesterday where the delivery founder was saying it as well. He was like, I urge brands to use or sort of push as much digital payment as possible. But see, Dr. Vaidya's 83% of our orders come from outside the top 10 cities. We have a section of consumers still don't want to use digital payment. And I am not of the opinion that I will stop servicing these consumers. So that's the reason I'm taking a conscious decision to keep it on. Have COD related returns increase? They will increase. Until we have a clear picture of the lockdown being removed, it will increase. But right now, it's about servicing your consumers. If I can service you, and you are only willing to buy on COD, I am not going to say I'm not going to service you. That's a decision I can take. On Amazon, Amazon is a different place, a different sort of negotiating power and a different trust from consumers. We are not there yet. We wish to get there someday. But until then, I don't want to stop a consumer from being able to consume my product. That's most important for me.
It's actually also in terms of return, it's not COD versus prepaid. It's just literally based, currently the returns we're seeing is based on zones that the courier person can't reach. So I think it's not, and so it doesn't matter if it's COD or prepaid. If it's prepaid, it's actually more of a troublesome also because you have to make sure that the customer gets refunded their money in time and extra, additional processes as well. So I'm not seeing the return to be more on COD, less on prepaid. It's actually currently so far what we've seen, still a bit early to say because I think the whole supply chain cycle that you mentioned from warehouse to customer to back is going to be longer. But the reasons are mainly being because of hot zones.
Okay, got it. So this answers another question that someone has asked: have COD related RTOs increased?
Yeah, that's right.
So I think, as you said, that the problem is not related to COD. Okay. One more question is: has the Instagram, Facebook traction improved for you guys?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, because number of advertisers reduced, so cost per acquisition is lower. But that has to be seen from a holistic perspective. So if the cost per acquisition is lower, but the delivery is not happening and the RTO happens, eventually the blended ROI may come back to the same thing. So yes, it's sort of intuitive that there are lesser advertisers, so the cost per acquisition is less, but these are the other scenarios that eventually lead to a blend which may go back to the same thing.
And just to add on that in terms of other interaction as well with the brand, I think the one good thing is that you are actually seeing, like we see more people actually ask questions in live sessions, ask us queries more related to home tips. We have like a Dr. Vaidya's, we do a daily tip every day. It's an opt-in option on WhatsApp. And we're seeing a lot more people actually wanting to engage in these tips. It could be basic home remedies for immunity, cold, cough. The whole concept that we're trying to do is make people a lot more aware and say that this is your house. Every Indian household kitchen is blessed to have so many herbs. Use it wisely. So we are seeing an increase in engagement through that as well. Even blogs, people are consuming a lot more blog content right now, which we do post on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Okay. Arjun, so next question to you, and again, it's a bit difficult to probably answer, but have your sales projections, how have they changed for the next 6 months, next 12 months? Have you done any kind of sales modeling right now?
We are doing projections. I think, Pranju, the question is very good, but I don't have the answer. And I don't have the answer because, look, March end was when the lockdown happened. That was a situation where everyone shut. It took some time for us to open in April. Obviously, we are learning through the dynamism of this time what happens. But so I don't know how long this will continue in terms of the lockdown situation. So very difficult to give you an answer on that. I think I'm not answering your question at all. But the honest answer, I don't have an answer to your question. I think what I can say with some amount of surety is that we we have a view that health and wellness at least will recover faster than other industries. But how long the recovery takes, honestly, is out of our hands completely.
I think in addition to that, the only one thing I do feel from like a business point of view that we've been doing mindfully, and I mean I see it across like everyone else as well, is actually re-looking at your expenses, right? So anything that maybe earlier that would be a good to have, now it's literally like, what expense do you have to have?
Survival.
What are the additional things that are good to have for your business? I'm not saying that they were unnecessary expensive. I think some of them are good expenses to have, but do you really need to have it now? That is what's going to be questioned and looked at a lot right now.
So in one of the last webinars we did, one of the founders said that you need to have a 12 to 18 months of runway of cash left with you right now. So they probably were planning to cut down on marketing expenses to make sure that they have 18 months of funding with them.
Yeah.
Okay. I think each business, each for his own. I think for every business, I think it's important to cut back for sure.
Okay. So I have one more last question for you, Arjun. How does the future look for Ayurveda in general? And if you could give some more context of the wellness and health category.
Look, future is bright for Ayurveda. That's very clear, right? The Prime Minister tweeting about Ayurveda and putting an Instagram post about it and talking about it in Mann Ki Baat. I think Ayurveda has got a sort of fillip or a push through this time that consumers who weren't interested in Ayurveda or weren't excited about it are now excited about it. So future for Ayurveda is bright. I think for us as an industry, we need to be there for people, reassure people at this time. And most importantly, educate people who don't know enough about Ayurveda. What are the herbs you should have, right? Amla, Giloy, Ashwagandha, Guduchi, Haldi. What are these herbs? Why are they good for you? What herbs can you add in your food? What are the supplementation, whether from Dr. Vaidya's or from general, that you should be having other than the available herbs in your food, etc.? Why is it good? Is Ayurveda only about medicines? No, it's not. It's a way of life. What is the relationship in Ayurveda and yoga? All of these things we need to, at a mass scale, be able to give this information out to people. And I think government is doing a very good job at this time, whether it's Prime Minister tweeting about it, Ministry of Ayush is extremely active, a lot of content on Instagram and Facebook going out from the ministry directly, from brands as well. Like we're doing a lot of educative content as well. But I think that's really the future for Ayurveda. Is look, we have been given a situation where consumers have generally gravitated or moved towards Ayurveda in this time. Now, what can we do to convince these consumers, educate these consumers so that they stay with Ayurveda, not just for the 3 months or 6 months or 9 months that this will continue, but for the rest of their lives?
Okay. We have a question from one of the attendees, Rajiv Kohli. Do you think Q4 will be the new festive quarter for the year for all categories, essentials plus non-essentials?
Q4 will be the new festive
like the following year Q4. Sorry, I didn't actually get both the questions, Hitesh's question and Rajiv's question. I didn't fully understand.
So by Q4, I mean calendar quarter 4, which is last 3 months of this year.
So Q4 will be the new festive Q for.
I think that's anyway the festive quarter.
That is the festive quarter.
Oh, he says he means Jan, Feb, March.
It's not. You mean Jan to March next year?
Jan to March next year. So
you're talking about financial year 2020.
Financial year before, yeah.
That's only God has the answer to that question.
I think a lot will depend on the next few months first to know which month. I don't know, festive month, not month. I don't know. I think more like when things ease up and things become a little safer, those will be your.
I think the question is, can we celebrate a festival in the way we celebrated a festival in the past? That's the question, right? Very difficult.
Yeah, probably till December, we don't see people going too much out there to purchase things. So that's probably what the question is. Okay. Anything else, Arjun and Trisha, do you want to add?
I don't want to miss anyone's questions because I apologize, but explaining, I mean, models like increase, and should we take conscious steps to facilitate with other logistic partners?
What does PUDO
What is
PUDO?
What does PUDO stand for?
Hitesh, if you could explain what PUDO means. Someone asks, what is your general RTO percentage?
Drop off. Okay, pin code drop off. Cool, got it. Yeah, it could increase, to be honest. Yeah, why not? I think it definitely could increase because yeah, you're right. The sort of contact is what people are trying to sort of avoid. Having said that, whether you have a pin code drop off at a particular stall or you have someone at the bottom of your home or building, there is at some point a contact you will have to have. So what we are seeing is society is ordering in bulk, right? So we have it in our housing society, for example, milk and eggs and bread coming all together for the society, and then everyone sort of coming down at one time instead of 50 times a day, 50 different households coming down. So I think that's a new change which may continue as well, and there is some interesting businesses doing work in that space.
And to add to your other part, Hitesh, or in your question, should you have other logistic partners? I think 100%. Definitely don't have just one logistic partner. I think it's always good to have few. There are few logistic partners who have strengths in certain parts of the country and not. Currently, we also do use a little of a blend based on which pin codes are serviceable by which courier partners. So like my recommendation is you should always have a mix of courier partners. So what is the centrality or percentage? I'm going to avoid answering that question.
On the courier partner portion, so this is something that we have seen as well across e-commerce companies. A lot of companies are trying to onboard these new courier partners just to ensure that serviceability is maintained.
Yeah,
that's a big trend that we're seeing.
You have limited options available, and you try to service consumers as much as possible with those limited options.
And a lot of courier partners are currently still in the phase of only first cleaning up backlog, right? Because from lockdown till now, there have been a lot of orders that have just been in transit and stuck. So quite a few courier partners have taken the approach that let's first clean that up and then start. Some have only started with prepaid orders, for example. Delivery has started a whole new wing called Delivery Essentials. So even orders lockdown that were ready had to be completely changed to Delivery Essentials. Right? So I think you'll have to keep having multiple courier partners.
Any question anyone has, feel free to ask in the Q&A box at the lower section of your screen. Okay, I think time's almost up. If there's any closing statements you guys want to make.
Yeah, I think from my end, I think these are unprecedented times. From our perspective as a brand and a company, we are being extremely agile at these times, saying that what you did day before yesterday may not be what you do tomorrow. You need to be definitely open to new ideas, new thought processes, and new ways of thinking. Think out of the box, because nobody has the answer to your question, right, in this time, because nobody's been through this time. So I think that's one thing that we are adopting. And second thing is, Dr. Vaidya is always there for you. For anyone who wants to learn more about Ayurveda or what Ayurveda has to do with COVID-19, you can go on our website. We have a specific blog section on Ayurveda and COVID-19. And yeah, most importantly, stay safe, stay immunized, and stay healthy.
Thanks, Amit. There is one last question. Let's answer this as well. Since you can sell on marketplaces, how have those sales changed?
Yeah, so if you ask me to honestly compare pre-lockdown to now, there has been a change. A lot of marketplaces are also opening up slowly, right? So I think a lot of it depends on the category. So even for us, for example, on Amazon, not all F54 SKUs got whitelisted in the very beginning when Amazon was still delivering. They also are taking steps to make sure that they can handle volumes. So it's only core essentials. So even from our basket of goods, everything wasn't serviceable. So I think it will pick up again once the economy slowly opens in terms of restrictions on the road, etc. It will.
I think marketplace-wise, it's each marketplace and what their situation is currently.
So each one has their own, so some of them, like Snapdeal is just opening up. Flipkart, for our product, I'm talking about our category, not general, all categories, right? Few of the pharmacies, like online e-pharmacies, Amazon's opened up earlier. But I know they all are having bandwidth issues in terms of people, because everyone is really concerned also for the safety of their people, right? Like, can they actually come to work? Is it safe for them? Is it not? So I think it will pick up slowly. But I think all those things also have to be kept in mind, that even a marketplace like Amazon is having this exact same issues as any company.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much, Arjun, for joining in. Thanks so much, Trisha.
Thank you guys for
Thanks,
joining
man. Thanks for having us.
Yep.
Take care.
Thanks everyone for joining in. Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.